Here's my struggle. I'll say yes, but because I'm going to lose it anyways. But my challenge is that so if I'm a Boy Scout, and I
can't even imagine.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Hello.
Yeah.
All right, welcome to the CROA board meeting for November 29th. Lee, we started.
Please sit down.
Okay, it's now 6:30. We're finally going to get it started on time. So let's begin with Pink on Parade. Was it Olga that was supposed to be speaking for us, please?
I'll introduce myself. I'm Dr. Ivanov. Thank you, Olga Ivanov. I'm a breast surgeon in Celebration Hospital. I've been here for 6 years, came from Chicago. And really, most of the time, I live in Celebration. When people come here, it's a problem. I just came here to thank CROA members for their support and all the Celebration residents. It's a tremendous event. We just did our 5th walk, and we do it in October to support women in our community who unfortunately are battling breast cancer and fortunately most of the time surviving. And the beauty of this event, it really has brought in our community. I feel like nothing else has in the past, where you see hundreds, actually we had 2,000 people walk, from 1 month old to 100 years old, doggies on the leashes and everything. And for every CROA member, you guys are our heroes. You get the 5K medals as well. We have 10 of them, so pass them around.
Wow.
And
it doesn't look like I ran a 5K.
well, but you can walk. You know, we had a 98-year-old walker, so he walked, and it took him over 3 hours, but he did it for his wife. So thank you again. You guys are tremendous for your support, and can't wait to count on your support for October 14th of this coming year, 2018. Over $100,000 raised. The beauty of this walk is every single cent we raise stays right here for our patients. Just to give you a little example, Susan G. Coleman, when you buy that pack of gum or whatever and give her 30 cents from it, she spends 80% of what she brings in toward her own self-promotion, advertisement, and salaries, and less than 10% toward patient care. We spend every single cent on patient care here. So that's why this is so near and dear for us, because it's us supporting our own women here, and you guys are again our heroes for helping us, and thank you, thank you, thank you. And Gloria, thank you for helping put all of this together. That's it. That was the reason. Thank you.
All right, we'll now begin with the owner's comment period. And first on the list, I have Rand Saylor.
Rand Saylor, 1401 Celebration Avenue. First, I wanted to congratulate the board and CCMC, because I think that tonight you guys are finalizing a contract that's very good for the community. I know it's been a road to get here, but you guys have put in the work, and I think you've ended up with a great product. And I'm speaking as a resident of Celebration. Secondly, as a member of the Artisan Park Committee, I wanted to thank you guys. Last meeting, we took up a lot of your time on one issue. Yesterday, Jack and Paul devoted a bunch of time, as did Steve, and based on yesterday's meeting and the willingness of everyone to look forward and cooperate, I'm very much hoping we're going to see you guys at your final meeting of the year, and we're going to be in a position to present you a contract that's acceptable to you. And we would be nowhere near here without your help and without the help of Steve Waring. So thank you very much.
All right, Mike Jackson, you're up next.
Steve. Mike Jackson, 413 Sycamore Street. Good evening. I'm here tonight to comment on the contract renewal process. The first meeting I attended on this topic was December 5th, 2016, 5 days short of a year ago. First, I'd like to acknowledge and thank the residents who have supported this process throughout the past year. Many residents know much more today about our HOA and the CCMC contract than a year ago when this all started. I also have learned a great deal over the past year. Those of you who signed the petition, thank you. It made a real difference and showed the power of democracy. The threshold for signatures was achieved in a few short days. I'd like to personally thank Paul Collins for his amendment to the motion to approve the contract. He introduced the burden rates from Evergreen, the HOA company that manages Solavita, and is in negotiations to manage the Artisan Park Club. I would also recognize the 4 board members, including Paul, that voted to approve the amendment and then again to approve the counteroffer to the bid. The pursuit of a better deal for the residents made a huge impact and was appreciated. The contract draft has been heavily focused on getting our economics right. We have reasonable parity with Evergreen, providing an independent standard in the marketplace that can substitute for a competitive bid process. This is a first in 17 years for Celebration. There's still work to do in the areas of quality and service measures. This segment of the contract was largely left untouched. In the questions we submitted in advance of this meeting, we asked that CROA make it a priority to establish quality and service criteria with CCMC for the duration of the new contract with measurable goals. The last year has done a great job of educating the community, and we expect and hope the residents will be much more active in the future with the CROA board and our governance. We look forward to the discussion of the contract proposal in the agenda and your responses to the questions that have been presented. Pending the outcome of the discussion, we'll make an announcement regarding the future action with the petition. Thanks again to all the residents that have supported this effort. Thanks.
Thank you.
All right, Cindy Swisher next.
Had a version A and a version B. So, okay, my name is Cindy Swisher, and I live at 1204 Downey Place, and I've lived in Celebration since fall of 2004. I'm the wife of Tim Swisher. I work for CCMC, and I also am a good friend of Pat Wasson's. Yes, Virginia, there is a Santa Claus. This phrase memorizes the true story of Dr. Philip Hanlon to his 8-year-old daughter, Virginia, who asked him if Santa Claus was real. Not knowing how to answer, he suggested that she send her question to the New York Sun because if you see it in the sun, it's so. This quote is part of the editor's response. In today's world, this would translate to, if you see it on social media, it's so. When all the rhetoric started around the contract negotiations with CCMC, I admit that I got sucked in to reading the Facebook thread. The next thing you know, there's self-appointed steering committee, then a petition. I'm guessing 98% of the folks in town had no idea what was going on when all this started, but as the postings increased, you could almost hear the wheels turning. Well, if this person, who was a big muckety-muck when they held a real job, hints their secret meetings, collusion, and other unsavory accusations, it must be so. And if that person, who seems to have an opinion on everything on the side porch, says that since every minute detail is not outlined in the current contract, CCMC is hiding something, and therefore CROA is being cheated, then it must be so. And when a person who sits on a board of a philanthropic organization says that the board is not fulfilling their fiduciary responsibility, then it must be so. Well, friends, we all know there's no Santa Claus, and just because some of Celebration's more well-known vocal residents say it's time for a change in management companies, it doesn't mean they're right. During the past several months, one thing that both sides seem to agree on is that they're pleased with the level of service we received from CCMC, and yet inquiring minds want to know, will the CROA board make it a priority to establish quality and service criteria with CCMC for the duration of the contract with measurable goals? When is enough enough? It's time we got back to business as usual and let our management team do what we've hired them to do, manage. Thank you.
Okay, Eileen Barr. Okay. I have nobody else listed to speak. Is there anybody else who would like to speak? Okay. Seeing none, we'll close owner comment period. And Steve, let's verify the meeting's been properly noticed.
Yes, it has.
And verify we have a quorum.
Yes, there is.
All right, please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so our first order of business is to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Jack, before you do, I'd like to pull
Unmoved.
item 15.
Item 15 is scratched.
And
I'd like to amend to add a, where is it up here?
Did we add your agenda item?
Where's the golf course?
Where is it?
You took out 15, he's amending 8.
It should be number 14.
It's near the top.
14.
Oh, not near the top.
I'm sorry, what we...
I'd like to add a 14A because in addition to the purchase of the property, we're also going to have to approve all of the purchase costs, be it attorney's fees, closing costs, et cetera, on that.
Okay.
That way we can go forthwith with that.
All right, and I believe that Debbie, you and Paul had supported an agenda item to discuss the activities downtown.
I don't see it.
I have it as part of, since it's not an action item, I have it as part of the management report, and if any action comes from that, we can add
We
that.
were going to do as an action item. Can we do it in place of?
Well, he said we can discuss it as part of the management report, and then if we need to turn it into action item.
If there's any action from that, you can.
I want the board to be able to discuss it, and there's people here discussing it.
We can pull it from the management report and just do it as an action item, and if
I'd
we'd
like
like.
to do that.
Okay. So,
Do
You
it.
want to replace 15 with that, since you have or put it at the end?
There's some people here to speak about it. Can we
I'd like to
do-
move it up a lot further than that.
Yeah, thank you.
Move it after 3.
All right, let's move it up there to 3 then. So that'll be 3A. And that'll be the discussion of
Traffic and events and
events in
thank you.
Main Village.
I move for the agenda as modified.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
3A.
Okay.
Okay. We need to go back to what Leonard wanted to do, the first item that he wanted.
It's just going to be like a 14A.
And who seconded that, adding that to the agenda?
I did.
Okay, so we do
Okay. All right, so now let's move on to the approval of the minutes. That's for the board meetings on October 25th and November 8th.
So moved. Second.
And Tim seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, let's move on to committee reports then. ARC. This is Michael.
Good evening. For the record, Michael Valaquette, Chairman of the Architectural Review Committee. In September, we had 124 applications. 122 were approved and only 2 denied. The top ARC requests for the month were 42 roofs, 18 painting, and 10 landscape, and the rest are all smaller items. A big announcement, I guess, is Sherwin-Williams has finally uploaded all the paint palettes online. Residents can now, if they can't get to Town Hall to look at the books personally, they can go to sherwinwilliams.com and work their way towards Celebration HOA. They want to refer to these colors to make sure that color palettes match their roof before they apply. And once again, as always, if the residents have any questions regarding application process or need assistance, they can always come here to City Hall and reach out to Community Standards, and they will assist them in the process. And that's all I have. Do you have any questions for the ARC committee or myself? No. Anybody?
No.
Stephen? Can I leave?
Yes, sir.
Thanks, Michael.
Thank you.
I'll give you a call.
All right, covenants. Am I looking at Mark, or who's doing covenants? Covenants? All right, there's no covenants report then. How about special events?
Okay. Special events. Holiday Feast is this Saturday. The event is split into 2 parts. First off is some wintertime fun at Town Hall from 11 to 3, including cookie decorating, the opportunity to visit with Santa, and the largest snow slide in Florida. If you haven't been there with the kids really love the snow slide. It's sometimes their only opportunity to actually see snow. Then at 6 p.m., we can all sled over to the Great Lawn for our holiday movie, The Polar Express. Kids in attendance will receive a keepsake as they exit the movie. I know what it is, and it's really nice. Our elves will be hard at work on the evening of December 7th as they traverse the community to judge the holiday home decorating contest. Residents have until December 5th to submit their application, and I think the judging is going to be tough this year because there's a lot of really pretty houses out there. Our next Food Truck Friday is December 8th. In addition to the great lineup of culinary favorites, we invite everyone to come out and enjoy a performance by the Celebration High School Jazz Band. The Community Chorus will conduct their holiday concert on Sunday, December 10th at 7 p.m. at Community Presbyterian. The show is free of charge and a great way to get into the holiday frame of mind. On December 13th, residents are invited to take a break from the holiday hustle and bustle and come out to Wind Down Wednesday. Again, that's W-I-N-E, on the Great Lawn. The event starts at 6 p.m., and we will be featuring the movie La La Land on the big screen. Sea Dog Brewing will be on hand to offer libations for purchase. From now until December 14th, the Lifestyle Office is conducting a Toys for Tot drive. Residents are asked to bring a new, unwrapped toy to Town Hall.
Thanks, Eileen.
Thank you. I also want to just add a congratulations and thank you to the Special Events Committee and to JR and his team. What a wonderful Founders Day event again this year. And there was a lot of scrambling at the last minute to replace our performance on Friday night, and I think they did a great job. It was a good time had by all.
They did.
Good job.
Thank you.
Okay, recreation.
The Recreation Committee met last month, and it was to review proposals from an RFP for swim programs and for dance programs.
Okay.
And you'll have recommendations in your action items tonight on your agenda.
All right, let's move on then to financial report. Susan.
Okay. As of October 31st, we had $1.7 million in operating cash. Accounts receivable had gone up some, primarily due to the application of the fourth quarter assessments. Our net income for the month was a negative $49,000 because we do a lot of periodic things just before the holidays to make the community look great. Capital improvement income was $30,988 and it was over budget by $8,203. And year to date we're over budget by $58,420. Reserve fund cash is $5,186,000, and our capital improvement year to date is $856,000. I'll let Paul, our treasurer, talk about the financials if you'd like.
Well, we've got a lot of stuff to do, so I just overall that we continue to run overall on budget. Our revenues are down about $130,000, and that's from bad debt expense, which is higher this year. And also, we have a prior year surplus, so that's more of an accounting thing where we took the surplus. That's about $60,000. But we're about $130,000 favorable on expenses. Main driver of that is our landscaping, which, our landscaping is not that great. So we are next year we're going to be investing a lot in landscaping. Our landscape contract is going up, but I think you'll see the community, we need to have better landscaping out there. So that is a short-term favorability. So that's it in terms of finances. And we're still hopeful we get $1 million in our capital reserve. So we're only $175,000 $75,000 a month for the last 2 months, right? So
right.
All right, good. All right, Steve, let's go with the management report.
Yes, I'll start with Comcast. Good news is that Comcast should be completed with all construction in the community by tomorrow, by the end of the day tomorrow. There will be an exception of some of the CROA courtesy services that they'll be installing at the different parks community. Jennifer Ketchum, our customer account representative, will still be on site. She was here November 16th and will be providing her date for December. That will communicate through Friday Flash. Any questions with Comcast?
Can you define construction?
That would be the installation of pipe and digging throughout the community. Now, there will be some homeowners that either currently have Comcast or that are ordering Comcast that will have the fiber connected to their home. But overall, the easement construction that you see throughout the community will be done. And I think it's important to note, too, that if you still have any issues, Comcast has a database that they're keeping, a spreadsheet. So if you're not on it, we want to get you on it now because they'll be packing up pretty soon by the end of next year and moving on. So we want to make sure we address all those issues. They do have a final walkthrough again scheduled for the end of January. We'll walk through with them in the development district to look at the easements again, just make sure everything's where it's supposed to be. But again, I encourage homeowners, if they have any issues, please contact us now.
Steve, on that point, has that already been announced through Friday Flash?
We'll update the Friday Flash for this week so that we have that.
To make sure that everyone has that full notice. Thank you.
The next item is athletic fields at the Civic Corridor, and that project has moved along into the permitting phase where the initial permits are being set to the TCC in Reedy Creek. But we did have, I had a meeting yesterday with some of the members from the county, and this stemmed from an initial meeting that we had with Peggy Chowdhury, Commissioner Chowdhury, and Beth Ann Knight, who's the Assistant County Manager. And they sent their Parks and Rec folks out to talk to us. They have a Osceola County master plan, and there's a gap in this side of the county that needs to be addressed and filled. So we shared a little bit of the thoughts of our plans for the athletic fields and possibly building a community center if the golf course park property is acquired. And they were very interested in that. In fact, they were interested to a point where they're going back to the county and requesting an initial $250,000 to help with design and engineering of if the proposed golf course property, and then a capital investment to help build the community center in October of 2018. And it's a substantial amount of money, over $2 million that they'll be requesting. So it will require some work. It will require an interlocal agreement with the development district in the county, since we're not a government agency, for them to transfer funds. But it was a very good, positive first step moving in that direction. So some great news for
Steve, I believe that you also said that they're willing to construct the path,
well, all of these conversations are preliminary, but they did say they're going to look into some of their trail funding and see if they have funding available to do the sidewalk. It would essentially need to be a trail through there and boardwalk connector into North Village, so that it completely connects the entire Civic Corridor to North Village, and it really makes that whole piece really a community park. And that's a technical park term for them that meets their need within their Parks and Recreation plan. So it looks like things are lining up to move in the right direction, so we'll continue working towards that.
And Steve, are we at the point now where folks should contact the commissioner for support, or should we wait?
No, I think we'll let us keep working with them, and if we get some negative news back, I'll let the board know right away, and we can move forward with that.
Okay.
Well, that's excellent news.
That's great news.
Yep.
Yeah, very good.
Okay, the next item is the K-8 school facility usage agreement. That has been worked through and vetted, and it's gone back to Osceola County to vote on in their first week of December at their meeting. So they'll approve that meeting, and then we'll bring it back to you for your December 18th meeting for you all to approve. And it has been reviewed by CROA legal counsel and submitted back. And what we pushed for this time was a little bit more flexibility with using the gymnasium, and the extension to be able to possibly do some capital improvements on that site down the road as part of our facilities master plan for Celebration. And they did give us a drastically reduced rate on the use of the gymnasium, and they offered to allow us, if we did any type of improvements to the gym or the restrooms, if it was cleaning the floors or changing out toilets, whatever it may be, that we could bank that amount that we put into it and use the gym at no cost until we offset those expenses. So it does leave us a little bit more flexibility for using the facility.
It's a pretty good deal.
Yeah. And right now it's a 5-year deal. The school board's not doing more than 5 years, but we did ask them to do an option for an additional 5 years. So that is what they're talking about, to extend it to a complete 10-year deal.
And did that include the tennis courts, or
the
area that used to be tennis courts that's
out
there?
We had a lot of conversation with them about that and possible USDA grants and working with them for that. And it was very positive discussions with
Awesome.
them.
Great.
And that is all that I have. Is there anything else you want to add?
I think it's all, if you have any questions about operations of the service area, of course you can see that Todd is planning by the end of the day tomorrow to be completely done with The interior, he's been working, getting it done over the weekend. So I believe that we had a budget from the reserve study of about $137,000, and he did it for what, about 60?
Yes.
About $60,000. So his muscle and working through the holiday weekend has really saved the community a lot of money.
Great. Great job.
Steve, I have one question.
Yes.
On the roofing project, any update?
Can you say that one more time? I didn't hear.
Question on the roofing.
The roofing project? Yeah, we have some additional questions that we sent to the attorney on what our next steps are to take legal action, and we just received those back yesterday, so we'll be updating the residents and the board on Friday of this week.
And they're still being updated weekly, right?
Yeah.
Weekly updates, yes.
And we're sending to you weekly as well.
Yeah. Thank you.
The only other question that I had was, I know in the management report for service areas, are we on that? Is this part of this now?
Yes.
Okay, perfect. For service areas, I'm going to butcher the name because I can't remember what it is. The ones, Parkview Townhomes. The fence and the trellis that's there, is the trellis that's there that was taken down prior to the hurricane, is that part of the one that we're waiting for the response on the contractor for, or is that a different project?
It'd be my project.
Your project?
Yeah,
okay,
it's a
gotcha.
Todd project.
Okay, all right.
As is the fence as well.
The white fence, not the one that's on the building.
Right.
Right. Okay, gotcha. Okay, cool. So, but that is in the pipeline?
It is.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
All right, Steve, we done?
That is everything we have.
Wow. So let's move on to action items then. Tab 1 is the motion to approve the CCMC management contract extension. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
Again? Debbie, motion. Tim, second. Discussion? Well, I tell you what, I do have some discussion because, Mike, you gave me a bunch of things to write, and I'll ask you all to chime in if you'd like. The first question was, we believe the residents were more actively involved in this contract renewal process than in the past. How does the CROA board believe the process of resident involvement worked in aiding the process? Well, I got to say, first off, never have we had so much involvement by any community in any contract we've ever done. We spent many hours, both at workshops, sitting in room 105, trying to meet with people, meeting people with the meet and greets, and lots of other discussions. So a lot of it was very positive, and I think the contract bears that out. Anyone want to throw anything else out on that one?
I think the only other thing that I'll add is that we took feedback, in my opinion, even if it wasn't direct from a resident that was being directly voiced, but it was voiced through a board member from multiple different communication mediums. So whether that came through, we ran into someone in the supermarket, whether we met them here at the 851 building, whether that was email, online, carrier pigeon, whatever it happened, that feedback was relayed back into it. And I think that's a shift from previous, from years past, just as that we're adapting to that change. And I appreciate that, at least. So.
The only thing I would add is that the process evolved. We set up a design, and then it evolved. We found that we needed other types of community input, and we did that. Now, was it a perfect process as we look back over the last 12 months? No. Would we do things different next time? Perhaps. Or probably we would insert some other things. But I think it was a very deliberative and evolving process that had lots of levels of engagement and lots of opportunities for input.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, let me add, I think the great thing about this is that it was a very open process, and I think the result is that while I'm not totally happy. Not everybody's very happy, but in a democratic process, the best thing is when everybody has their ideas together, and then we're the elected people, and we take all that. But at least everybody has seen the process and has gone through it, and so I don't think there should be any question that about any kind of backroom deals or this, whatever. It's been an open process, and I think it keeps the community from having questions about what is kind of going on behind the scenes there. I think I hope we continue doing that in this community, because I think it's ugly, it can't be, but at the end of the day, I think you get a good result. So I continue that, and I give credit to. I always mention Eric on this. He's been the champion of transparency and openness, and he's leaving, and I disagree with about everything else.
I'll try not to smile as you say
that. That's the one thing we agree on there.
He's leaving the board. He's leaving the board. He's not leaving.
Oh, I was hoping he was leaving the community.
Paul was trying to get I keep getting this for sale sign in front of my house.
And you wouldn't put it.
I'll raise your offer.
Just real quick, I know that Mike and some other people express frustration when you get up and speak for 3 minutes and we all kind of sit here and look at you. We're available literally 24/7. We get emails day and night, phone calls, people stop us in Publix, walking, wherever, but it's not something where you just speak to us at a meeting. And then the other reason why we appear to argue a lot at meetings is we don't get together before the meeting. We can't get together as a group and discuss things, so a lot of times we appear very disheveled and disorganized, and it's because this is fresh to us in the discussion. And the other thing, I'd like to take credit for this being awesome and wonderful as far as the 17 years Mike mentioned, but they actually did do a bid process 10 years ago, and there were bids, and I have those at my home if anyone needs to see them. You can't hear a thing back there, can you? We need a new sound system. I think we're getting that.
We got a new mic. It looks really cool. It has a little light and everything.
Seriously, except for Floyd in the back. Come on up, everybody, if you want to hear. You can't hear a thing. So thank you, everybody, for being patient. But again, if you need us for anything, we're all available, single or as a group, any day. Thank you.
All right, I got to tell you, we have 5 more questions.
I know. We're done.
Okay, why wasn't a red line of the management contract changes provided as requested versus the last submission to residents? It's nearly impossible to stay current with the changes without that element. What were the suggestions for contract changes that were received from residents, and which ones will be implemented? Can you provide highlights?
It would all been red.
No, the red line I was the one that gave everybody the final contract. I didn't think about giving a red line thing, mainly because in the body of the contract there was only a few minor changes. Some of them were as a result of some suggestions from Gary Hudsmith, and they just basically changed 1 or 2 words, which I'd be willing to show with you. But the more significant thing that was added in the contract was that I can't even find it now.
If you had a red line, you could find it.
51313, and it basically said that an independent auditor can request from the managing agent unburdened and burdened salaries for a specific payroll period. So they're being very open and transparent about that, and that was the only significant change that was made in the body of the contract. The more significant areas were in Exhibit A, where we talked about the burden rates reducing to 30% and 22%, and the changes to the CJC billing. So, anybody else want to comment on that then? Okay. All right, the CROA board received a request to require CCMC to disclose the profit element that is embedded in the burden rate numerous times since October 30th and still has not been responsive. This is not an employment cost and should come under Section 9 of the contract, undisclosed fees. This item was disclosed until 2013 contract in the fee schedule addendum and was labeled payroll management fee. It had reached 10% of wages, but it was eliminated from the schedule. Will the board require CCMC to disclose this profit element, which will give us transparency to what we pay CMC? If not, why not? Part of that, the issue, the burden rate covers a number of things. It includes the employer Social Security contributions, Medicare, health care, vacation, sick leave, all the benefits that would be attributable to that. Okay, you could actually get close to doing that. And I think, Leonard, last time you brought up the Bureau of Labor Statistics that indicate that the actual burden rate for the Southeast region was like 40%. No, it's 30%. Well, whatever the burden rate was. the burden rate is a proprietary thing, okay? Each individual company gives you a burden rate, you either take it or leave it, okay? So we didn't really investigate to see exactly what the profit was involved, okay? We just basically looked at the burden rates. Does anybody want to comment?
Yeah, I've talked to Mike about this a lot of times, and we just agree to disagree. But I think the burden rate is the right way, and it's, your benefits are going to come. Problem, the benefits individuals, it runs from, because the big variable on a percentage basis is health insurance. So, health insurance is a fixed cost, and for a lower paid employee, that's going to be, if you're paid $40,000 and you have health insurance of $6,000, which is probably about the average of what is given, that amounts to 15% of your salary. And then you add on all the other ones. And so a lower paid employee, your benefits cost can be 30%. Now a higher paid employee, $100,000 salary and $6,000, it's only 6%. So, your benefits vary between probably 15 and 30% based on the employee, and every employee changes. So I think my guideline is that, the cost is it averages out to between 20 and 25%. And you can't get to a precise number because it'll change every day based on, so you just have to kind of go with that range. So I'm more comfortable with that. I know, Mike and I have probably discussed this 20 times, and I prefer the payroll burden rate. So.
Okay.
And Paul, I have to agree with you, although you and I don't always agree either.
Okay. I don't think anybody agrees with me.
Okay. When the counter came back from CCMC that accepted the burden rates, which gave us parity with evergreen rates, there was also an increase in the monthly management fee that equated to $43,728 over the life of the contract. Why would CROA allow this increase to a previously offered rate from CCMC? Just as we offered them something, they offered us something else back. But I got to say that our original contract called for an $8,000 CJC cost per month. So that's exactly what they gave us for the 2018 period. I would like to say that if you actually looked at Artisan Park, for example, they're contemplating Evergreen, which would have a $1,300 per month management fee or possibly a $1,600 management fee if they have break even. Remembering that Artisan Park is roughly 1/7 the size of our community, if you multiply that out over the 12 months period, they would actually be paying a burden rate that, a cost to management for between $109,000 to $134,000 versus we're going to be paying $72,000. So it's significantly less.
Could you explain that again?
Okay, Artisan Park, for example, per month will be paying $1,300 a month for management. When they break even, they go to $1,600 a month.
That's under the Evergreen contract offer.
Yes, if they accept that contract.
Actually been revised.
Okay, so is it $1,300?
Tom Slayton had provided that to me.
Is it still $1,300 then, or what is it?
It's $1,300 because we are budgeting break even for next year.
Okay.
And the incentives will be discussed and approved by CROA and by APC after they have been in there long enough to propose something that makes sense. So at this point, there are no incentives, and to the extent incentives are offered, CROA will have to agree to them. So there's going to be no incentive until you and the APC agree to incentives, because Evergreen's position was until they see the lay of the land, they don't know what's achievable and what's fair, and obviously we both have the right at the apple of saying, sorry, that doesn't work for us.
All right, am I correct in saying it's $1,300 a month? $1,300 a month. All right, times 12 is $15,600. You multiply that times 7, it comes up to $109,200.
Why 7?
Because they are 1/7 the size of us, roughly 1/7. They're a little less than 1/7 the size of us. So we're talking $109,200 for a management fee versus $72,000 that CROA would be paying for the CJC portion of our management fee. All right, any further on that one?
I just want to add is that the reduction from 34 to 30 over the life of the contract saved about $240,000. So, and the fixed fee added another 43. So the net is still $200,000 savings. So I think that's a strong savings. And my personal view with this contract all along is that, and I've talked to Mike about this, is that I would like it more of the income to be in the management fee, which is transparent, open, and less to be based on labor, because the more it is based on labor, the more efficient CCMC is, the less money they make. And I want them to make more money the more efficient they are. So I would have even liked to have a bonus opportunity where they're based on efficiency. But so I like us moving more towards more towards money in the management fee and less in the. I think it's in the interest of the community moving in that direction. So I fully support it.
All right. Fifth question was, how much money on an annual basis and from what sources being paid in the capital reserve account? Items such as the estoppel and mortgage payments from the paid off 851 building and any others. This is more of a budget thing. It's not so much of a CCMC thing. First off, estoppel payments, we don't collect a nickel off that. That's strictly a processing fee or transfer fee that's collected by CCMC to process, the paperwork. As far as what we collected what we get in the capital reserve account, we were roughly paying $20,000 a month on the 851 building mortgage. Back in 2012, we kind of exhausted all our funds when we upgraded Lakeside. We'd gotten some money from Prisker to do that. And we looked around and said, wait a minute, we have nothing else that we can do any capital improvements with. So we then got the Civic Corridor land and realized we were in more trouble. So around 2014, we passed the Capital Improvement Fund portion of the charter, which collected a monthly, a transfer fee for any property sold. That plus the mortgage payments that we continue to collect, and plus the apartment recreation fees, all go into the Capital Improvement Fund. So like this last year, in 2016, we accumulated $869,000 in that Capital Improvement Fund. This year, we're on track to get almost $1 million. We have $845 right now, and should be another $75,000 per month. So that's what's going to be used to build the Civic Corridor and not tax or not assess the homeowners for anything. That dog park went up there. We didn't assess anybody for any of that stuff. So we're trying to make these improvements and not hurting the individual homeowners. So, anybody want anything on that?
Well, and that's going to accelerate too, obviously, with Island Village coming online and all of the stuff that's happening on Celebration Boulevard. So that capital account will really start growing pretty nicely.
Well, and when you consider the additional $2,250,000 from Osceola County, we should be very well positioned to complete that Civic Center very shortly. Number 6 was, will the CROA board make it a priority to establish quality and service criteria with CCMC for the duration of the contract with measurable goals? Each month we review the financials and we see where we're doing in the budget. And every year when we do our budget, we look at very closely how well we've done. And that's really the measurable goal that we're looking at, the level of service and how we do with our budget. And if that fails, then our option is to replace CCMC. It's as simple as that.
Well, and I mean, that's my opinion. That's business as usual. We've been doing that all along. That's not something we've not been doing. That's what we do. That's what this purpose of this board is to make sure that the community and the management company is run efficient.
Yeah, I think it was. Every year we have when we start the year, we establish 5 or 6 goals, and this is something that was started prior to my involvement with the board, and I think it's a really good thing, is that so they look out and say, where are the things we really want to improve on? That's quality. That too. And I think at the annual meeting, if you come to the annual meeting, we'll report out on that. And to me, I'm always amazed. Last year I was amazed at how much really was done against those initiatives, and so I think that's sort of the quality piece. The other thing that you may not see that is done is that CCMC does a survey every year of the board and measures like 30 questions about quality, and we answer them, and we're very frank, and they take, I know they've taken that input seriously. And then they'll measure that against other associations they manage, and if they see a low number, they'll see that they need to improve on that. I think the one thing Mike is talking about that I think we should explore is the measurable goals. I think we do a lot of stuff in terms of general, but in terms of establishing measurable things, I think that's going to be kind of hard work to do, but I think it's worth looking into to see if we can to do that in the future.
All right, so we can do that in strategic planning then?
Yeah.
For next year, yeah.
All right, any further comments then? Any further discussion then?
Paul left out one thing that we do also do is we do have a executive director evaluation every year also, where Steve gets evaluated and he gets feedback of areas that he's done really well in and areas that he's only done good in. I was wondering.
Never bad in though, right?
In an effort to we
don't need to have that conversation right now.
All right, so.
Yeah, and just thank the staff. They were very patient, and we appreciate your patience. They've been so professional doing all this, and it was just made it a lot easier on us because it was a very long and difficult process. So thank you.
Okay, so the motion's on the table. All in favor?
Aye.
Were you going to say something?
It's okay.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, tab number 2. Tab number 2, motion to approve the Thriving in Place Activities Room Services Agreement for 2018.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Second. Discussion.
Jack, if I could start it off here. This is the third year of an ongoing relationship we've had with Thriving in Place. They've used the Jones Room the last 2 years.
I don't think they can.
Can you hear me? Hello? Oh, that's
There you
much
go.
better. This is the third year in a relationship that we've had with Thriving in Place. They've used the Jones Room for the last 2 years. And in the summer, when we had our summer swim instructor lessons in camp, they would come here to the activities room and utilize that for the summer. The program has grown. It's outgrown the little space that's at Jones Room, and we have worked together to look at booking them here in the activities room at the 851 building. The reason why the 851 building and the activities room works is because it's a daytime program, and when we look at an underutilized room during that time frame, really if we were to go out and market it and try and get a program into the room, the only programming we could do during that time frame would be something with the retired community, something with homeschool, or something with independently wealthy people that don't have to work. So it makes a lot of sense to continue this partnership. Right? Yes, Paul is one of those people.
Is that one or both categories?
So this program makes a lot of sense. It doesn't displace anybody. It does provide the continued revenue for the per person fee that is being charged at Thriving. And we think it's worth the try for a year to allow the bigger, more open space for this program.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 3, the motion to discuss lifelong learning usage of the 851 building. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Tim and Paul, discussion?
I'll go ahead and start this one off too then. The Lifelong Learning Program, as you all know, was the Stetson Lifelong Learning Program. And unfortunately this year Stetson informed them that they could no longer use that facility. So they had to look for a backup plan and look for another facility. And this kind of all started happening towards the end of this year. We started putting these pieces together and looking at what made sense for utilizing the rooms. The same argument that I just made for Thriving is the argument that I would use for lifelong learning, utilizing this facility. It's during the day. It's a well-established program in the community, and it's a volunteer-driven program. It's not a for-profit program. They don't. The volunteers that run it don't make any money off of this. It's just out of passion and wanting to do a great program for the community. Our recreation program plan calls for us to look for partnerships with existing programs in the community, not duplicate those programs, and this seems like it's a perfect fit for us. So that's the reason why we're recommending the use of lifelong learning for the 851 building. And Mary Ann's here also with Lifelong Learning. If you have any questions from her, she's more than welcome to come up and answer this for you.
I don't think I have any questions, but I really want to become a partner with them. You know, CROA taking a lot of interest and effort in doing this. Okay, so we'll make available our Parks and Rec staff to help you and certainly publicize as much as possible. Okay, so
I had some questions. We received this yesterday.
Today.
So there hasn't been any time for much discussion, but in my reading of it today, having received it yesterday while out of town, it's not clear that CROA is a co-sponsor. I mean, you talk about partnership, but it doesn't say that. And so if we are indeed a co-sponsor, I would like to see that in writing.
As part of the agreement?
Part of the agreement,
okay.
Second is, it was unclear in the written document, Celebration Lifelong Learning, and I didn't see it listed as a 501c3. Steve, you provided some information back that this is really part of the foundation, and if that's the case, that should be in writing, because it references requirements for insurance, and if insurance is required and it's not a 501c3, then who's doing the insurance? The document also references employees, and to a large extent, to my understanding, most of the people who are on the floor, if you will, who are actually running the program are volunteers. And so how does insurance cover volunteers when they're not employees? And that should be specified in writing.
That is part of the coverage of the workman's comp, and we are and that is the standard language that the attorneys provided us for the agreements. But I am verifying through our insurance agent just to make sure that that's the requirement that's needed, because ultimately we're listed as additionally insured for that.
Yeah, I think you'll find that they don't insist on it, but they strongly recommend that there be a workman's comp policy for volunteers. Because that's come up with me 100 times.
So shouldn't that say that in our agreement with them? Shouldn't it say employees and or volunteers?
I think the word volunteer will probably need to be put in there, yeah.
Just to be safe?
Yeah.
May I ask either Paul Kinzer or Gloria a question? Paul is the president, and Gloria is the executive director of the foundation. Does your umbrella insurance cover all of your volunteers?
Yes.
Okay. So as long as this program is under you, all your volunteers are covered. And then we actually have, CROA actually has an umbrella policy above that even, that would cover past that amount for volunteers.
It's a simple change of wording then, just to say employees and volunteers.
Our job at CROA is to protect the association, protect the residents.
Right.
And I agree with Jack's initial point of, and also having been part of Lifelong as a guest or participant, I think it's a valuable program. I just want to make sure that the written documentation covers what we intended to cover and what's being said verbally.
All right, well then,
I had a question. What is the charge per participant? I didn't see it in the contract.
Debbie, right now, the charge for membership is $40 a term. A term is like a semester. And then there are registration fees per course. A course is approximately $20.
Okay.
And this is, we operate, as has already been noted, it's run entirely by volunteers. There is no paid staff, and we operate on a break-even basis. So we try to keep our fees as low as we possibly can and not be in debt as we operate our program.
Okay. And before everything went to Stetson, so you really didn't know where you stood?
That is correct. Prior to this time, all the revenues went to Stetson University, and we volunteers were not given privy to the university budgets.
Okay. Well, subject.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying, subject to those conditions that David had mentioned. I guess I'm leaping ahead of myself. Leonard, do you want to say something?
Yes. Number one, the contract that has been, I'm addressing David somewhat in this, the contract that we have here before us is actually a form vendor provider that X Factor Dance has signed the same contract. The various other providers here all have the same contract And it actually refers to them as vendors versus partners. As far as I'm concerned, that's just in this portion of it, it is only if you get into ego or anything, it might be something there. I'm not going to go anywhere near ego on that. As far as insurance through the foundation, the question I just asked of Gloria has been answered, and that covered the volunteers, employees' workman's comp insurance also. Does anyone have any problem? We have two things going before us. One is the terms of the contract as it's written for the first year. And the second might be a little bit more of a wordsmithing on the contract. So basically, we could approve a contract as written without changing any of the terms, but maybe tweaking a word or two. We'll probably have to send it off to Tom Slayton and spend $275 to do it. But
it is Christmas.
But we could do that, or we could run with this same.
Tom's going to have a very nice Christmas.
or we could run with the same contract that we've used for everyone else, and this is the same contract that Thriving has signed, I believe. Is that correct?
That is correct, yes. It's the same template.
And it's mentioned the same way in there. Now, if you want to just put lifelong learning, what would you call lifelong learning as part of the foundation, Gloria? What? A sub-program, I'm sorry.
Is Celebration Lifelong is the name of the program?
No, but what would you call it from the foundation's standpoint? Is it a Celebration Foundation program, lifelong learning?
Correct.
So if those words went in to this contract instead of just lifelong learning in one or two of the terms, would that fit everything you needed there?
Yeah, and what struck me, knowing knowing was all volunteers, it's like this form contract didn't work for me. It was because of that, because it's volunteers.
It's different.
It just didn't seem to work.
I received a call and an email, two questions.
And volunteers, and it's both.
One was,
Thriving has both.
Did anyone put this through the Parks and Rec Committee?
Yeah.
No, this was not run through the Parks and Recreation Committee. It was a new program utilizing space that is underutilized at this point in time. And I know one of the points that was made is trying to prioritize the programs that we have. But the prioritization is called out specifically in the recreation program plan for the peak times. That's that 5:30 to 8:30 time frame. So this was not a peak time program. This is.
But would this fall under a 501c3? Right?
It is a 501c3 underneath the foundation. And then I think the other point to that is that the recreation program plan in the task force last year specifically asked to look for partnerships with 501c3s and not-for-profits in the community, and the Celebration Foundation was named specifically as one of those groups to look to partner with.
I think it's important as far as the language of the partnership, though, that there's something in there, how that's...
I'll talk to Paul and Mary Ann about putting something in there to make sure that as we promote this program, I think it's an excellent opportunity for us to show the community that there's multiple entities working together here to provide outstanding programming for the community. And everybody doesn't have to provide the same thing when it comes to partnerships. We have the building space. They have the expertise and the knowledge. The foundation has the 501c3 status. It's a great combination.
So I guess we approve this contract with the amended language.
All right.
I'd like to go back to one of Leonard's first point. Was there anything technical that caused a concern? I don't know if this is a typo or not, but on item 3 in the scope of services, it says the rate would be $0 per hour. Is that correct or incorrect?
There's no room fee being charged, so we spell out that it's a per person and then the initial capital contribution for the rooms.
Okay.
No the capital contributions
fee. So the setup fee was dealt with elsewhere. It was just confusing to me.
Yeah, and just for anybody listening at home, the capital contribution up front is about $10,000 of technical equipment that they want to put in the rooms. That will benefit CROA meetings and CJC meetings and ultimately the lifelong learning program. So I think it's a good fit to have that initial capital contribution.
Very good. All right, further discussion?
Okay, that was just, we opened to discuss. I make the motion that we approve the contract with the changes of changing the name Lifelong Learning into Lifelong Learning, comma, a Celebration Foundation program, comma. And that seems to fit everyone else, is that correct? So I'll need a second on that.
Somebody have a second, please?
I'll second.
Oh, go ahead.
Second.
Paul seconded.
Okay, second.
Paul seconds. Okay, further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab 3A, discussion about main village activities. This is a... I know most of you people were probably involved in the lighting of the Christmas tree down there, and that was probably a problem for some.
Here's my take. I'll open up the fun. What we had was there was an existing safety plan that was put in place that was part of the events application that was submitted to the CDD, but obviously that only pertained to the CDD property, not the whole shebang. I guess the concern that I would have is that we don't have, and this is not just specific for this event as it relates to the Lexington events in Town Center, but also the other events that we hold as it comes to capacity. We don't really seem to have a contingency plan for when we meet a specific capacity threshold, what the heck do we do? So like, let's say for some strange bizarre reason, Food Truck Friday is hopping and we got people stacked up out here and we don't even know what the heck to do with them. We don't have a contingency plan for, okay, well, in that case, then we need to send some sort of a message out that the event's now closed or whatever, or we have to get the sheriff involved for helping supplemental traffic. But obviously all those things need to be set up in advance, and we didn't have any of that stuff set up in advance. So I kind of don't know where. We have two needs. We have a short-term need to figure out what the heck is going to go on for this year, because we have another event coming up on the 9th, with I think that's the Radio Disney concert. So that could draw the same number and the same amount of problems. So we kind of have a short term that we got to figure that out. Long term, we need to figure out, what we're doing for events as a whole, which I think is obviously a much greater partnership between us, CDD, CROA, the whole, everyone. To me, it seems it's surrounding a lot about capacity and capacity management and what we do for that. And I don't know, in this case, how they would have made that call other than already having deputies contracted in place to essentially close the road and say, town's closed, guys, go home.
I agree with you. We need to come up with a comprehensive plan that involves the CDD, involves CROA and Lexington,
also the County Sheriff's Department,
and advice from the Sheriff's Department. But we need to reflect the size of the group that we're going to be coming in with. And this caught us totally by surprise, and I think caught Lexington somewhat by surprise, but I think they're still understaffed for what they originally planned for anyway.
Yeah, and I think that, I'm all for a committee, task force, whatever we want to do to figure this out in the long term, but I think in the short term, we also kind of need to figure out what the heck we're going to do in the next couple of weeks, because we don't necessarily want a repeat of this.
Yeah.
So
I don't know if Dave or Floyd want to comment, but I believe they have communicated with Lexington and they've increased the coverage for Saturday night. Do you want to speak to that, either you guys?
Actually, they probably can't because of they have more than 3 of them in the room, or more than 2.
Okay, I didn't know if one of them could report or not. It's not, but I guess I'll speak to it. That there was communication with Mike Nunes, and they've at least increased for Saturday night through the end of the year to 2 deputies. It's a double over 1. But I think we still have a lot of issues. A lot of people may not be aware, but the Experience Kissimmee gives grants for different events that are held in town. And for example, for Now Snowing, Lexington receives $15,000. For the Oktoberfest, they receive $12,000. For Hearts of Reality, $15,000. And for the Exotic Car Festival, $15,000. So again, I think the price for a deputy or their adequate security is available and the funding. I'm not suggesting they lose events.
That money actually comes to us. So we request the money. Celebration, no, it's not CROA, but it's a right, Steve? What is the organization?
The CCS is Celebration Community Services, and it is an entity that's been established to be able to go after some of these grants and help be a pass-through for Lexington. But there's only certain ways that you can use those dollars, and that's state law for how, and it's advertising and marketing. So you could shift your advertising and marketing dollars and use it for sheriff and offset that with, but you can't use those dollars for sheriff.
They have to be used for marketing purposes. But what I'm saying is, if you're not having to spend anything on marketing for the event, that we need something available for a certain determination for security. My biggest concern is if there's an ambulance that's needed in Artisan Park or another part of town, it simply cannot get through. We've been very lucky up to this point. We haven't had a catastrophe, but I certainly don't want to be sitting on the board or living in the community when we do. And I think we need some type of task force with a representative from each of the organizations to discuss this, to move forward. I've talked to people from Homeland Security, also County Sheriff's Department, people in the industry of security, because it's certainly not my background, but we definitely need some type of plan. Now, does that fall under us for security? Well, probably not, but I think we're just suggesting we get it together.
We have standing in this because, we are CCS. We are the ones requesting money for these events, and I think we have, we have every right to say, listen, we can't continue to. This is affecting our residents, and we can't continue to support this in the way we're doing it if it continues like this. So,
Well, I think we need to come up with a plan.
I would suggest we develop a task force.
Short-term and longer-term.
Right. Yeah, we got to
short-term.
Got to deal with the rest of the holidays
in the next weeks.
Yeah.
Well,
I think that would fall on CDD. I mean, we certainly can't.
That portion's already in CDD, and I guess we can't bring Dave up to either liaison.
We can't. Well, can't you speak us in a report? Floyd, can you leave the room a second? I'm sorry. Or
give a report of an actual event.
Give a report.
Discussion.
Yeah.
So if Dave wants to give it, or I can give it, but all you can say is what is occurring.
Yeah.
In other words, there's been public.
We can't know that already.
That's public record, exactly what's spoken to, and you can do that update. That's not very sunshine law.
Okay.
He and I cannot give you discussion.
Right.
Go ahead, come on up, Floyd.
I can't hear what you're saying. Can somebody
okay, I heard it.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Well, right now, Gary's in touch with Munis, and he's not happy with what happened. So we're going to try, hopefully, going forward, to increase the sheriff's deputies that are here in order to handle the traffic. Anyhow, right now, you have a lot of people moving in to the state from Puerto Rico. Well, a lot of them don't have money, so they can't go to the parks. So where are they going to come? They're going to come here. It's free. So that's most likely that's why there's such an increase of people that actually showed up for it. That's no excuse for what happens. And this has been going on for years. It hasn't changed. It happens during Halloween. We have 15 deputies working here. Traffic is still tied up. Really doesn't move. I mean, basically the only way you're going to solve the problem is you just don't have any functions down there.
Well, I think we need to look at other avenues rather than just to simply not have anything.
But I'm just saying that's
we have to do something.
Because in reality, they can only do so much with moving traffic, right? But I still need them here anyhow. I think there should be more. There should be 2 cars out there that are giving out summonses, or even impounding cars that are blocking corners of roads, crosswalks, anything like that. That's actually, but you have to specify what these guys are going to do. You just can't say, well, here, we're going to hire 15 guys, and they're all going to sit around someplace and not do anything. It has to be done.
We have to have a plan for them.
You have to actually have a plan, and that's what we're going to probably have to talk about at the next meeting to try to get that thing set in place.
But you're comfortable with the short term that Gary's communicating?
Yeah, he's on top of it. He's been communicating with them, and basically we get the emails for it. But it's something that it has to be fixed. There's no questions about it. I mean, somebody's going to get hurt, and plus, even the porta potties. We had no porta potties out there whatsoever. He says, well, they can use. From what I read on the emails, they can use all the bathrooms within the hotel, all the restaurants.
If I was a restaurant owner, I wouldn't let anybody in there.
No.
I mean, they're going to have to worry about cleaning that every 15, 20 minutes, if that's the case.
Yeah.
So basically, by not having the porta potties that they're supposed to have, that was a big neglect right there. Because from what I understand on Water Street, as people were going up, they're actually inside the, defecating and actually inside the hallways of the buildings, and in between the cars and wherever else they wanted to go. So it becomes really a health issue at this point,
Well,
too.
we also had an issue of people parking on residents' grass.
Grass and everything else, blocking driveways, etc.
Thank you, Dave.
I'd like a second to recognize a member of the audience to
Second.
speak. Okay.
Can you come up, please?
Come on up and
Thank you.
identify yourself, please.
Yeah, thank you. Eric Walgreen, 709 Bloom Street. I just wanted to add one thing that, withstanding the extra people that may have been here from Puerto Rico, I think that we've seen a lot of events that have a lot of people that come in. I think the 4th of July is a great recent example, where downtown we saw people driving out of downtown on the inbound lanes and the outbound lanes. It was a complete gridlock for hours. That's just one example. I think this happens several times a year. And, you know, anybody that would have to get out of downtown for a medical emergency simply wouldn't be able to do it. I think this past event was, you know, very congested. It wasn't as bad as the 4th of July, but I mean, I think that this is not something that's new to the town. This is something that has been happening consistently, and we know that for any of these big nights, there are going to be a lot of people. So I think, you know, it really behooves us to do something about it.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
I'd like to see if we can get together a group of people who would be willing to meet with CDD or a representative CDD with CROA and Lexington in order to plan this process, and then eventually we probably have to meet with the representative of the county as well as the sheriff's department.
Well, if we can, I'd like to see a task force or a committee consisting of someone from CCDD, someone from CROA, someone from Lexington, someone from
CJC.
You know, CJC, and see if we get and the police are in the sheriff too.
Absolutely.
How about experienced Kissimmee too?
Yeah, experienced Kissimmee.
Well, and in my opinion, this isn't rocket surgery. I mean, you know, there's large events that happen elsewhere in the county, and they have to have a traffic plan and a safety plan and that sort of thing. And I think we're just at the point where we need to ask for assistance with that. I mean, there's people that do this for a living. You know, they design traffic plans. I mean, you know, we need to come up with a way, you know, kind of similar to what we do with the road races, where if we need to come in and we need to change, you know, that guess what, guys, you're only going to go in and out of the community this way, and it's going to turn into one big loop. Well, at least the loop moves, you know, or something like that. But
We had a plan for remember the movie that never happened, that we had the plan for that.
It's like your approval is based on having an acceptable plan, approval for hosting the event.
Well, that's something that CDD would have to do, so
That's right.
we'll approve this
turn this into an action
application.
item?
Contingent on.
So we need a motion?
Yeah, I
Do
think
you
we
want
need
to
a
appoint
motion.
one or two people from the CROA board, and then I can start working with the other entities to try and put it together?
So what do you need?
I'd like to motion to initiate the task force.
I'll move that.
And a second, please.
Second.
Do you want to go ahead and say who the 2 or 3 representatives from the CROA
A
board are
motion
going
to
to be?
originate a task force with a member from CROA, CCDD, CNOA, and also a county sheriff's department rep, not necessarily voting.
And I think Kissimmee's
Experience
Kissimmee.
I have the entities. Do you want to, at this point in time, do you want to decide
Name
who
us.
the CROA board representatives will be, or do you want to just do that later and let me know the 3
We can
names?
do that later.
Okay.
All right. So
Will this address the short term also?
No.
Because it sounds
No,
longer term.
The short term is being addressed by Gary.
Yeah, they're taking care of that.
All right, good.
So this will address a longer term need.
Good.
And if anyone has any suggestions or anything for it, please don't hesitate to email us with
It
that.
sounds like it
Or
would
give us a
behoove you, if you've got an issue, to go to that CCDD meeting and voice your opinion about those issues too. So,
all right, so we have a motion to form the committee of these representatives, and a second was by whom? By Debbie. Okay, further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 4, motion to suspend voting rights of owners delinquent over 90 days with assessments, fines, or other monetary obligations in excess of $100 for Florida Statute 720.305.40.
Second.
Second by Eric. Discussion?
Is this a change as far as the minimum, $100?
No.
This is the same motion that we've done in prior to the election.
Okay. All right, any discussion further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 5, motion to approve the, I'm sorry, I'd like to combine tabs 5 through 7. Okay. These are motions to approve the association resolution for CROA, CJC, and CCS for the election to have excess income applied to the following year's assessments.
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Approved? Opposed? Nay. Nobody. Sorry. All right, tab number 8, the motion to approve the drone policy. Motion?
So moved.
Second? Eric, come on.
Second.
All right.
And Jack, just for clarification, this is a resolution, so it's not a rules and regulation. This would be a resolution by the board then.
Okay.
This is for everybody's drone, not just our drone, right?
It's for all
So
drones. in
the rationale is why?
Well, the drones are growing in popularity, so it's best to get out in front of it now, establish a resolution up front on how, if it does become a problem, how we can address that, and it becomes a resolution of the board at this point in time.
So let me ask a question. If you combine items 6, 7, and 17, 6 says unmanned aircraft must remain 25 feet away from individuals and property not owned by the operator. 7 says surveillance of persons where there's a reasonable expectation of privacy cannot happen. And 17 says prohibited from taking off or landing in association-owned common areas. Where can someone fly it?
Their backyard.
As long as you're 25 feet away from a neighbor's and you can't look in the neighbor's yard.
And you can also take off from the street, too.
And you can take off from the street.
Okay.
So it's really very restrictive of where one could use a drone. Is that correct? Am I reading it correctly?
Yes.
Yeah.
Very restrictive.
And I can tell you, using it in common areas can cause a lot of liability and risk if kids are out playing and hit somebody and hurt somebody. So I think that's why we asked Tom Slayton, your legal counsel, to generate this to protect the association, and it is very restrictive.
So this is pretty standard for, I mean, probably.
Yeah, where do we get this?
I think it's Tom from looking at other drone policies for other associations.
Okay, so how will we be publishing this?
Number 9?
We can post it online and publish it through the Friday Flash and newspaper.
So I'm going to strike that.
So it's a resolution but not a policy?
No, it is a policy resolution, but the difference between rules and regulations is it's not posted for 30 days for input, and it becomes a resolution.
So Eric goes out tomorrow after we pass this and flies this drone in violation of this. What happens?
Yeah, that was my question.
I knew you were going to ask me what you were going to do. That's why I took it.
Well, I believe we would follow the community standards of asking them to stop and talking to them about it. If it continues,
letter and then a fine.
It would come to you as an egregious violation or not, and we'd follow the process.
So
who witnesses? Who's the witness?
Yeah, I mean, I think
no different than any other violation. If
I think
I see you're screwing it up.
Yeah. So I've flown my unmanned aerial vehicle on association property and over association property. All right, so
You're not the only one.
in the effort of transparency.
Number 7.
So I think the only concern that I have with this is twofold. One is that there's no teeth to it.
Stand on the sidewalk and fly over the association property.
But I think that but what happens? Like, there's no consequence. Yeah, I get that this is real fancy wording here, but there's no.
Lose your pool privileges.
Well, is that really what it is? Like, do we follow the same as if I?
Isn't it not just a covenants violation because of it is a resolution, and so you'll get the first letter if you keep doing it?
So just follows that same process, right?
Getting fined, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Should we state that in there?
And we can, if we want to take a look at it and add some comments back, we can definitely do that. It doesn't have to be passed tonight. We wanted to. I know the board asked us to bring back a drone policy when we purchased, or when we voted to approve the purchase of the drone.
I would like to see some teeth in the resolution.
What are the consequences?
Yeah, and I think the only so there's a couple of questions here, and I assume Tom I assume Tom knows what he's doing, but so if a person has either a FAA exemption or they hold a unmanned aerial vehicle pilot's license for something of this, and they come on to do work, how does this impact it? So
they need to be able to go in and get an approval. Right.
So does that come before us at that point in time, or I'll give an example. I know we talked about real estate agents.
That's 21.
That's another one in here that's mentioned that it says they need to seek approval for us. But the other thing is that we do have film companies that come in and film here fairly regularly, and I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see these kind of used more and more for that. So I assume that this would apply to those type applications as well. I mean, it can't, can it? Because that's county property at that point in time, because they're just doing it off the road.
Well, you also have a company wants to come in and do a demonstration of delivery.
Well, that was going to be I'm going hog wild on this. I was going to tackle the commercial thing next, but I mean,
there's certainly no teeth behind another entity coming in that doesn't own a home here. You can't send violation letters. So it's very similar then to our no solicitation rule.
Okay.
You can't really do anything to people that don't live here.
But correct me if I'm wrong. Do they still have to come to us for an approval to do that?
For filming, yes, they do.
So that's what we can give them the drone policy and say you must follow that as a part of the contract.
Right. So add a media policy or for approval that they come to you and submit something in writing and they're legit.
Because this isn't going to go away, and I'd rather instead of us just keep rewriting this 30 times, there's going to be the case where we were talking about a commercial user that wants to come in and do something like that, where the person, quite frankly, may be a licensed operator. They have the proper insurance. They do the proper pre-flight inspection and everything. And so for those type situations, I don't know if we approve them as a one-off or if we're just blanket saying, no, you can't do that. And
so I move to table this, and why don't we give some input over the next month, and it can be brought up in the next meeting.
Yeah. Second.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So we got a second.
Yes.
Yeah, I'll rescind my motion.
You don't have to when you.
Sorry, Tim.
Table.
Okay. So all in favor of tabling it?
Aye.
Opposed?
It doesn't have any teeth in it.
All right, tab number 9, the motion to approve 2017-2018 non-ad valorem assessment for the 851 building to the CCDD in the amount of $4,800. This is a CROA operating expense.
So moved.
Well,
second.
Debbie, then Erg. Okay, discussion?
I seconded.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 10, motion to approve the second annual installment of the Civic Quarter assessment to the CCDD in the amount of $30,766.67. This is a CROA capital improvement expenditure.
I'm sorry. Say the number again, Jack.
$30,766.
Okay, I'm sorry, I misheard then.
Okay, so do I have a motion to approve that?
So moved.
And second,
and David.
And just to be clear, this is the second installment of the Civic Corridor Road.
It's the road
that runs up through there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay.
And this is.
Any further discussion then? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, tab number 11, the motion to approve this proposed CJC insurance renewal for the 2017-2018 policy year through Sealy Insurance for Siley? Is that what it is? Sile. Okay. $147,315.60. This is a CJC operating expenditure.
So moved.
All right, Tim?
Second.
And Leonard is second. Any discussion?
Yes. I had asked for a copy of the policy, and I just wanted to formally request that again, please.
Okay.
The current policy.
Which
Of this
policy?
new one? You want the new one or the
entire
old?
New policy that we're getting?
The entire policy, the entire master policy.
Okay. Okay, further discussion?
Is this the guy that gave us a 4-hour lecture?
Yes.
Yes.
I might vote no on it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Nay.
To be good at entertaining a board and good
I'm a nay,
at
Rachel.
insurance, that not two skills that go well together.
Yeah.
All right, tab number 12, the motion to approve the waiver of the fidelity insurance requirement of $7 million and reducing to $1 million for the 2016-2017 insurance policy term as required by Florida Statute 720-3033.
So moved.
And a second, please.
I'll second.
Tim?
I'll second.
Okay. Any discussion?
We just need to modify the years. It's 17.
It's 17-18, not 16.
Sorry. For 2017, 2018.
There you go.
Still the same.
Yes.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 13, a motion to approve Arius Bossinger as the collection attorney for CROA effective January 1st, 2018.
Motion.
Okay.
I'll second Debbie's.
Debbie and Leonard, and discussion, please.
Yeah, so just so that folks know, I mean, we're changing collection agencies at this point in time, and I know there was some discussion on this, so I don't know if someone can provide some color.
I'll give you some color.
Yeah.
There you go, Leonard.
Let's start with costs. We'll save probably $15,000 next year in collection costs. They are going to eat all of the expenses that they don't collect on. So right now, we pay Becker and Polikoff fees to file claims and such on our behalf, et cetera, et cetera. They don't collect, they're going to eat them. They are not going to charge us the hourly rate for those either. The amounts they collect from the homeowners, they collect from the homeowners. You know, in other words, if you don't pay and you get up to the point of getting turned over to the attorneys, the first thing they do is they send a demand letter out there. And actually, I think their demand letter is a little bit under industry standards in the cost, but it's the one from the attorney that says, if you don't pay this, we've got other things we're going to do next. And most everything gets done before you get to that point. A lot of that gets done afterwards is going to wind up in bankruptcy, foreclosure, things like that they do assist us through also. So, and again, the cost savings is substantial in my mind. I mean, $15,000 may not sound like a lot, but
$100 is substantial.
Few here, few there's a lot.
That's a picnic table.
There you go.
The second side of that is this is a small firm. One of the attorneys that gave the presentation actually came from Becker and Polikoff, who's going to be who we're leaving on collections, and they're going to be it. I've watched these gentlemen at a couple of the CAI, the Community Association Institute legal forums, and the very last one I went to, Carl's. Adam Carl's came up with there was three attorneys there from three different firms, and as you went across, I read a lot of association law just because I don't know, I'm bored. Weird. That's a good one. But as it went across, the first attorney said, well, blah blah blah. The second one went blah 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 blah. And then when it got to Adam, he goes, actually, there's a case that came through just 3 months ago that said directly on point with what you have. Now, the only thing I was disappointed with him about is he didn't name the case, because I had the case in my mind, what it was. But they're well respected. They're members of the CAI. There's no reason not to switch, and that savings could be much higher depending on what else we encounter.
Just a quick summary, I guess. Susan was kind enough to set up 6 firms for us to look at, and Leonard and Tim and myself went through some exciting meetings and talked to all of them, and we just really felt that they were the best change for our community and at a cost.
Yeah, they really. For the difference is really we're a big fish in their small pond, and they're going to give us
a lot of service,
the personal service that we weren't getting from the
bigger firm,
big fish, or
the big firm with
we were the little fish.
Yeah, the little fish in the big pond. Yeah.
All right. So, any further? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 14. Motion to approve.
14, I don't know.
No, we're 14.
14. Okay. 14.
A motion to approve an offer to purchase a golf course property in the civic quarter for $600,000. It's a CROA working capital expense.
Motion to approve.
And a second, please.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
Is everybody
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
I'm sorry.
This is a large dollar amount. I mean, we should talk a little
Go
bit.
ahead.
Right, the appraised value was a little bit less than this, right? And that was the first offer that we made. And they came back with $600,000, which was about $150,000 more than the appraised value, right? One thing is, I think the appraisal, when I looked at a lot of what they were appraising against was not property at Celebration. So if you look at recent property sales on Celebration Boulevard, it's going for, so this would be about $150,000 an acre, and they're going for over $1 million an acre. So I think in terms of, is this a good deal? Not only is it the last piece of property that's probably out there, but I don't have any problem saying that I think this is really a good price at the end of the day for it.
I think it's essential to the entire plan.
Well, when we consider the building of the Civic Center, this is gold for us.
Well, with all this additional news that Steve talked about earlier in the management report,
I forgot to tell you, there's one other issue that the county asked us to do, and that's to put a garden out there.
Well, what they want to do is they want to be able to offer extension services out of that location in the office.
I don't have to take my dirt all the way down 192 now?
No, actually, extension services is a great.
I think that's a great idea.
It's a great service that the county provides through your tax dollars that it's really not well known, and they will do soil samples for you. They have classes on. It was called home economics. I'm not sure. They've changed the wording of it now, but horticulture, agriculture. Yeah, all kinds of wonderful free services, and they need a space about half the size of room 101. Oh, wow. And then they talked about doing a community garden there also, that extension service agent would manage and work with the community. So it really is and then they'd want to, if God forbid we have another hurricane, but they'd want to make that a center where people could go to talk about FEMA or to talk about hurricane recovery. So they would ask for some space for that also. And I think, again, with county contribution, it becomes a public, open entity. And there's some details that need to be worked out with that, because I think that there has to be worked through the development district for that to happen. But it really is a great opportunity for us to pursue.
So, Steve, we're looking at a use agreement similar to what we have with the school district.
Yeah, but interlocal agreement, though, has to be done between two government agencies, and the development district would almost work through as a pass-through if we had on our side of the agreement to oversee the construction, maintain the facilities, and do those types of things after it's done.
I think it is not true. Like in Point Siena, they have a similar agreement between the Point Siena Homeowner Association and the county. And my impression is that the county provided the capital, but they do allow the homeowner association to run it,
correct,
manage it, and all that. So they give you a fair amount of independence in running it. That's my understanding.
They're ecstatic about not having to run it and maintain it, because there's no hit on their operating. It's just part of their capital that fills that need of the master plan for them.
So,
go ahead, Larry.
I actually have heard those details, and some of them trouble me, in that the added traffic up there is going to be used every night by someone in the county, because it's going to be county building. See, this dollars here, again, there's no agreement worked out or anything else, but these dollars have catches that it's going to be a public building, that they're going to give us booking rights in, but it's going to bring in a lot of people from a lot of other places, in and out of town, up and down the boulevard, in through by the hospital or whatever, for one thing. And there's a lot of loss of control there. And until we get further into this, I don't want to dismiss it completely, but it's not a very...
I don't think we need to be talking about
No, it's not very appealing to me.
It affects this motion, so...
It's not appealing to me. It doesn't affect this motion because we need to buy this property because it's contiguous. I didn't want to say that this property up there is also worth additional money because it's contiguous to our other property, and it makes it more valuable in economies of scale, where we may actually wind up moving the bathrooms just a little bit further away from the athletics fields, where they're in the very end of the building towards the athletics field. We could have a concession stand there and have the rest of the building come down there and build it in phases. But it could be built such that you don't have to have a dozen bathrooms on parcel E, and then 300 feet away have another dozen bathrooms in the, I'm sorry, I'm talking about stalls, not different bathrooms, in
in the other, and just that savings between operating and the build cost will more than meet the amount above the appraisal. But again, I thought it was worth this amount, or maybe even more, just because of the economies of scale it gives us. I'm finished. If anyone else wants to.
That's a good point, Leonard.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? And motion carries. Now 14A.
I have a 14A motion that all cost of acquisition of property D, including but not limited to any attorney's fees, inspection fees, purchasing and closing costs, and I just did an up to $50,000. I don't think it's going to go anywhere near there, but I thought we should go ahead and get that taken care of versus trying to get to that point and then saying, where are we going to pay for the contract at? Where are we going to pay for the phase 1 environmental inspection we're going to want to do to buy it? And such.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a second with Eric. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion carries.
Good idea, Leonard. Thank you.
Tab number 15 is deleted. So I'd like to go to tab 16, the motion to approve the CROA budget.
Would you like to move those two together, the CROA and CJC, and I can talk about them?
Okay, 16 and 17, tab.
Motion to approve CROA and CJC budget.
Okay, and a second, please.
I'll second it.
Leonard, the discussion now?
Yep. The CROA board started this process with management back in July of this year, and there has been numerous public meetings that were posted and open to residents to come and attend and hear the open discussions about how the budget was being developed. The CROA board set level of service that they'd liked management to look at and to develop a zero-based budget based on that level of service. And there was a day-long marathon budget session in October. This budget has been posted online. It was the original version of the budget was posted prior to the last meeting, and then the updated version has been posted for this one. There is a slight increase this year in assessments. It's a 2.1% increase. It's going from $911.40 to $930.72 per lot per year. And there's also a slight increase in trash services going to $296.40 annually. The significant increases for trash services are our recycling costs have gone up. And that was a newer cost that the board initially was looking at offsetting some of the delinquent accounts for trash services, but that has been taken over now by increased costs for recycling. That's a pass-through dollar-for-dollar amount. The increases in the CROA annual assessments are primarily due to landscaping. Our landscaping contract is going up significantly. It was a huge concern, and it was something that we really wanted to address this year, and redefining the scope and making sure that there was a lot of accountability there for any landscaping company that comes in here. And we had pre-bid meetings with the landscape companies. We went through an RFP process. There was a committee of CROA board members that worked to interview the landscape companies, and we feel like we've selected the best one, but it does come along with an increase. And to put that in perspective, if we were to just stay with the company that we have now, the increase would have been significantly higher because their bid came in higher than the company that we've selected.
How about put a number with that significantly?
It was about $200,000 higher than the contract that has been selected and approved at the last meeting.
And when will Yellowstone take over?
They're going to start January 1st.
Okay. All right. Any further discussion?
No, I just want to add that the insurance cost was about a 10% increase in rates, and I just hope that we will look at bidding that out next year.
Okay. All right. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Tab 17A, the motion to approve the service area budget.
So moved.
Second, please.
I'll second.
And Eric?
I don't have the service area budget in my packet.
It should be 17A.
Oh, here.
17A.
17A.
Was that the new packet?
Here, I'll give you mine.
Oh, I think
It is in the
Well, it's a
packet.
little late to,
I know.
can we wait until the next meeting? I haven't had any chance to review it, look at it.
Well, what we have done is we've met with, we've had two separate meetings for the service area residents, and they have actually met with us. They've asked us questions. They have, all of the people who came, we have answered their questions, and they're okay with the budgets as published.
Let me ask, like you're in a service area, did they get in the mail a letter saying this is the, if you have any questions about it, that...
It works just exactly the same. We mailed out all the budgets with a letter to the residents. We scheduled the 2 budget meetings, and then when we met with them, we answered all their questions. We got many emails as well, and we will send out a budget postcard just like we do for the CROA.
So you haven't received any significant pushback or questions?
No, and I will tell you...
Because I don't know what increases we're talking about.
Well, our highest one is 15%, and that's primarily due to landscaping. It's due to increases in reserve fund contributions per the reserve study. And in many cases, we have increase due to, there's 3 things that are really, all of them are pretty solid, except for 3 things that are very educated guesses. And that is general maintenance. We never know exactly what that number will be. We know how much the service fees are. We know how much the landscape contract is. So it's the general maintenance. It's the landscape and irrigation, because our irrigation is now 20 years old in many of our service areas throughout the community. And roots have grown, and we have breaks, and they have to be fixed. And roof repairs is the other one. So those are primarily the reasons why they're increased. And in the letters that we send out to the residents, we also tell them in those letters, these are the factors that contribute to the increase. There were some that stayed the same, but these are the factors that contribute to those.
Okay, so the area that had a 15% increase, they're okay with that, or how do you?
They were. They had a lot of questions. They had a lot of roof damage, and so and when we were doing the painting project, it's Roseville Corner, and when we were doing the painting project, we knew that there was some wood damage there. We didn't know how much wood damage there was, and once the painters really investigated it, there was a significant amount of wood damage. So we stopped the paint project, and some of it's our responsibility, some of it's the owner's responsibility, and so we're sorting all that out. But we know that the service area is going to have some significant charges related to that. So they understand that.
Well, I think they certainly did have questions when they saw the 15% for the 3 people that were there from Roosevelt Corner out of the 44 units. And the letter did go out to everybody. And I think we answered them, and we really talked about what Susan has just relayed back to the board.
It sounds like you've had a good full process, and maybe everybody's not happy, but they've had their chance to.
Absolutely. And we're going to change things up next year to kind of talk to them as we go along and have more meetings with the service areas so that they can give us feedback, and they'll be more informed when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I think Susanna suggested to them at that meeting to do a mid-year recap on how things are going, talk a little bit about what the next year is going to look like. So I think that's a great positive step in the right direction.
Okay.
All right, so any further discussion then?
Call the question.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, tab number 18, 19, and 20, I'd like to combine. This is to approve 1-year dance contract with X Factor Dance with an option to renew for 2 years, and 1-year swim contract with Little Fins with an option to renew, and a 1-year swim contract with Celebration Cyclones for an option to renew.
Motion to approve tabs 18, 19, and 20.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
These are all recommendations from the Recreation Committee also.
Okay. You know, I just like I've sat in on some of the meetings, and I'm really excited about the group and the progress that's being made. We're really good. The goal we really want. We're trying to make sure that we have first-class programs in here, and I'm particularly excited about they're called the Cyclones. Is that the USA
Cyclones?
Swim team? So it's been a long time coming. We should have a USA Swim team here, and the high school swim coach is going to start the USA Swim team. So
super.
Very excited about it.
Oh, that's great.
Now you're going to help assist with them?
Yes. Yeah, come on.
It's a great feeder program into the Storm High School.
This is a swimmer over here.
I'm not a swimmer.
I thought you were a
swimmer.
Oh, okay. All right, so all in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 21, motion to approve the East Village Pavilion rebuild by Vice Painting in the amount of $6,295. This is a CROA replacement reserve expenditure of $2,680 and a CROA operating maintenance expenditure of $3,615.
So moved.
Have a second, please?
Second.
Leonard seconds. Discussion?
Do you have any questions for Todd? He's taking a break from lobby restoration to renovation.
The only dumb question that I have is that this is, I know Vice Painting is just a name, but the pavilion needs more than just paint. So you feel comfortable with them rebuilding essentially the portions
he's
that need to be
expanded
rebuilt?
his services into general contract.
Okay, perfect. That's all.
Okay. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
Tab number 22, the motion to approve KWA Engineers, LLC, to do an independent evaluation of the roof issues in South Village, Savannah Square, and Charleston Place in the amount of $15,200. South Village Townhomes, Savannah Square Townhomes, and Charleston Place Townhomes service area expenses were charged back to William John and Associates.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, discussion?
So just so that, go ahead,
Actually
Debbie.
paying for the, I mean, are they?
Well,
this would be a chargeback.
It's chargeback.
Yeah,
for-
well, we've asked the attorney for it. So, first for a chargeback, we have to notify William John Associates that they're going to be charged back for it. But if the new engineer comes in and finds no problems with the roof, with the way the specs were written and the way it was done, then we're going to be on the hook to pay William John and Associates. So you're approving it out of the fund, and then if there's problems, we're going to charge back and go after.
Sure.
Okay.
You doubt there's problems?
You feel comfortable?
Well, I'm really hoping that the roof is, if the specs were done the way that they were supposed to be done and things were done the way it was supposed to from the get-go. I know it sounds bad, but I hope that this is an expense that, I think it's important that we do it because of the questions that have come up from this project, but I think it's a necessity at this point in time to have that security blanket.
Have all the leaks stopped?
Well, not all the work. I won't answer specifically because I haven't heard of any new leaks since the storms, but I can tell you that not all the work on the punch list has been completed by Drake. But it's not the engineer that hasn't done what we've asked them to do up to this point. It's the roofing company that has stopped.
And these, if William John's done everything as they should have, then the $15,200 will be charged to the individual service areas out of their reserve accounts, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. All right, further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, tab number 23, the motion to award the landscape contract for Spring Lake Townhomes and Spring Lake Gardens to Yellowstone Landscape for the amount of $171,540 annually. This is Spring Lake Townhomes Gardens operating expenditure.
Didn't New Leaf get all the service areas?
No.
It's the next one.
Everything
They're the
plus
next one
Spring
down.
Lake.
Except these.
Yellowstone offered to match.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. Go
Now
ahead.
we can discuss it.
Yellowstone offered to match the existing price there as part of what they're doing with the overall contract. So we did, but it will be a separate contract, meaning if the performance isn't there, we can move to a different.
Yeah, I guess that's my concern, because I know when we had really gone down the landscape road with this, we wanted to look at service areas separate from overall landscaping maintenance within the community, not only just from an accountability standpoint, but also, quite frankly, from a manpower standpoint. Because if there's one company, it's quite obvious that Bob's going to do the work here, and then Bob's going to go over here and do the work over here. It doesn't matter that it's two separate contracts. They still have one Bob.
It does if the contract asks for a dedicated manager at that site, and that's what they've agreed to.
So they've, okay.
So let's let Dave, Dave and I were on the committee, let Dave kind of talk about some of the rationale sites.
Yeah, your point where you're starting is where we started. And actually, I think when Todd and the management team pulled it together, they put in 3 separate contracts. In a prior meeting, either last month, or we approved the parks and the athletic fields with Yellowstone.
Right.
Paul and I, independent of management, went through and had criteria, only 20% of which was dollar amount. Yellowstone came out on top. They wanted the whole everything, and we said we don't want to give the whole everything. So now we come back to service areas. Then we determine, if I think this is a fair statement, Todd, so correct if I'm off. The service areas as a whole, it was like, no, well, Yellowstone, yes, wanted everything. We said we're not going to go there. Some companies did not want to bid at all on Spring Lake. So, and then one company that we wanted to have said that they would only be on site for a day and a half a week. Or is it 3 days a day and a half, and then during the winter season, it's a day and a half every 2 weeks. So that's not much presence.
No.
And so we had a dilemma, and we're looking at price, we're looking at services, and so then we divided service areas into two. The Spring Lake Spring Lake with the two elements there, and then the rest.
Gotcha, okay.
So we have two separate motions tonight. This one is about Yellowstone for Spring Lake, because they came out on top.
Okay.
And they are also, they seem to be, based on our read of it, large enough, competent enough to do the two contracts already approved and then the Spring Lake.
Okay.
We shall see, but we are as confident as we can be at this point.
Well, the beauty
is that a fair statement, Todd?
It is. Yes.
The beauty of the deal is that Yellowstone will be here every day. So
absolutely.
Yeah.
And that was really important. That was really important.
And I understand also that they've got 2 extra mowers in case they fall behind, one for you and one for Paul.
That's right. We are in training. That's right. When we're not swimming.
There's 3, one for Gary also.
Is that part of your agreement?
I think that's part of the lifelong learning program, if I remember correctly.
I'm not going to spring back. Yeah, we know who's down there watching.
All right, let's get back to this. So all in
Wait,
favor?
I have a question.
Okay.
Gary, did you look at any of this, or I know you've been very involved, did you have a chance to look at the contract?
Because that sure determined.
No.
All right, just saying, you're going to still be around, right?
But he's going to be giving us his,
Let us know if
he's going to be giving us his input. I can guarantee that.
We're the first meeting.
Okay.
All right, now, to the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 24. Motion approved to award the landscape contract for the remaining 11 service areas to New Leaf Landscaping and Property for $265,790 annually. This is service area operating expense.
So moved.
There you go.
Second.
And a second with Debbie. Discussion? Kind of been there. All in favor?
Already covered.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. It's 24B. This is a new motion to approve the emergency roof repair by Performance Roofing in the amount of $3,450
For emergency roof repair.
for emergency roof repair. Thank you. And this is the Green Lawn Service Area operating expenditure.
So moved.
Second.
And Tim, okay, discussion?
We had a leak.
We have 4 leaks in one front. Come on up, Susanna.
Yeah.
We haven't seen you up here in a while.
Come on.
Get to talk about new stuff.
Yeah.
So this is a homeowner in Green Lawn Townhomes who, after the hurricane, encountered several leaks throughout the unit, garage, bedroom, living room. So performance. It's actually been very difficult finding roofers lately to try to come out and even just look at roofs. They only want to replace the roof. They don't want to repair. Maybe that's where the money is right now.
Sure.
But we did get Performance, who has done a lot of great work in Celebration, and so they're going to facilitate those repairs.
Awesome.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab 24C, the new motion to approve the Hurricane Irma cleanup by Davy Tree in the amount of $93,678.75. This is a CROA contingency reserve area expenditure.
So moved.
A second, please.
I'll second for discussion.
Leonard? All right, let's discuss it then.
So this is a heck of a lot of money for what I didn't see the work.
Yeah,
I'll just be
my
candid.
question is,
were
can
they?
we prove that this work was done? Because an outgoing vendor like this will just gouge you the heck out of you.
The approval process that we agreed to for emergency hurricane cleanup was for timesheets to be added to it, and then we spot checked with Todd for the time. The huge expense is the cost of bringing in crews from Alabama, Tennessee. I mean, they brought in people that came here to above and beyond the normal crews.
That shouldn't have been expended to us. That should be expended.
I can tell you that it is when we signed the ability to have those emergency crews come in immediately after the storm. So we did go back and forth with them on the fees quite a bit, and did reduce it a little bit based on some additional operating expenses that we're going to have. But this is the tied to the timesheets, and that's the accountability that we agreed to.
They proved it then?
Yes.
Okay.
Was there travel expenses from out of state that's extraordinary?
$65 an hour and then $85 an hour
out of state.
Out of state to travel?
Yeah. Well, it's $65 an hour to travel, $85 an hour for
How much of it, what percentage was travel?
I'd have to look at the
Roughly
invoices again. I think there's a
I will say that, Jack and I have dealt with this some, and that Steve has really fought like crazy to, he doesn't agree with the amount that they charge, and he's been fighting it. At the end of the day, I think the Davy guy asked to bring in a couple board members, and Jack and I went in and came to this resolution.
Do you think this is fair?
I just didn't see him anywhere. I know the pile on my street, which is a little tiny street, the people from Georgetown got it. I mean, I didn't see JV anywhere, but I don't know what I'm missing. Like, where were they?
I agree. But that's the hours, and I think, I don't know that we could dispute the hours.
Right, yeah. It is what it is.
And basically, you had the Southside group that we agreed to in terms of that. There wasn't any dispute about the group that came in from Virginia, and that was a huge amount of the expense because you got travel, you got stay, and all that stuff. And then the issue was that what our local crew was doing, and the local crew. Basically, he said, well, they're doing disaster recovery. So they, rather than the local crew, but they weren't billed. But he did bill with their normal hours. They were billed out as if they were working regular maintenance, even though they were working on it. But then their overtime hours, then they charged at a much higher rate. So that's where we sort of got hurt, was their regular guys in overtime, we got charged a real high rate for those. So between that and the outside crew
was this simply for the parks?
I think for any dispute, because I was to the point where they threatened to take us to legal over us just refusing to pay. And I think with any dispute, we have to look at the checks and balances that were in place, and that was Todd working with the site supervisor on what parks need to be clean and when they need to be clean. So while you might not have seen them at a particular park, they moved kind of like locusts. They moved through the different parks and cleaned that park. And I can tell you, Spring Park was a disaster. I lived right down the road from it, and we went out right after the storm, and they had it back up and running that day. And it took a lot of work. And we had little kids playing in broken glass and tree limbs that day, because remember, it was a beautiful day the day after the hurricane. So they did move quickly through the major areas to get that stuff cleaned up. And I think ultimately the storm cleanup by the end of the month for our parks was all done. So it's really hard for us to dispute if it did go to legal, that the work wasn't done. But I have some issues with the how they charge overtime and those types of things.
Can I ask what our cleanup was after 2000 and the other 3 hurricanes? Do we have any
That would take some research for me to be able to answer that.
Just one bill.
So do we have a feel on what other things they'll be billing us for, or things that we had to have some other landscape company do that we'll bill back?
We have a feel of about 120 additional hours charged at the normal rate that will be processed from operations. We do have credit for the work that wasn't done though during the month of September, because they didn't do anything else. They just did storm cleanup. Well, I'm sorry, I take that back. They did trash pickup, and then they did 1 week at the end of the month where they started working back on routine maintenance. But we're not paying for the normal bill. We're getting a credit for the work that wasn't done on normal maintenance. So there is some savings there.
Okay.
Dumb question. So the money, this comes out of our contingency fund. There's nothing that can be covered by insurance on this, and our tree insurance went belly up, right?
Yes. Through Davy, yeah, they pulled that program last year.
Okay.
Just in the nick of time.
All right, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion carries. Item number 25 is the motion to approve to convert fines to specific assessments.
Motion to approve.
Second, please. Okay, discussion?
I have a question on the first and second item. I don't know who wants to.
I gotta get to it.
Go and ask.
I have a question on the first and second item.
I'm listening, yes.
Sorry. Of the, do you want me to give the address? Or?
No, I see them 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
Yep, we'll call them 1 and 2.
What my question is? What could possibly be wrong with a mailbox that costs $5,000?
It's a accumulation of fines of being non-responsive and not getting back.
Really
and
bad mailbox.
It's not the determination of how bad the mailbox was. It's the days that it went without being addressed.
It went 50 days.
You didn't care.
Do we have a photo of this mailbox?
Yeah, this has been through the entire process. It has gone through where the board initially enacted the fine. The Covenants Committee has upheld the fine.
Are they out of the country or?
I don't know the specifics on this one, what exactly their reasoning was, but I don't even know if this one's been through the appeal process, but I know it has gone all the way through to where it's been approved at all levels up to this point.
Okay.
So now this is a conversion of it from being a fine to a specific assessment.
Okay. And then on the second one, is this something that would have been approved if they wrote a letter? Did they just need assistance or don't speak?
I imagine it was something that was done without asking for approval, and then again, non-responsiveness, and stayed up the entire time up to the limit of $5,000, which the CROA board has.
Do you want to check if someone knocked on the door?
Yeah, I could just speak on the process, having been in community standards and sending those letters and those S9s. So, you have a series of different, covenant violations out there. Not maintaining your landscape, it could be an unapproved change. Maybe you put cameras on without approval, or maybe, mailbox, I know we've seen some, in different areas where they're beat up. Maybe they're not painted, the numbers are bad, they look bad. So it's not always a matter of the degree of the violation, because you have to treat them the same unless you're practicing selective enforcement. So what we do is we usually email out first. We give them a time period to respond, and then we send that first letter out that says, give us a timetable of your plan to address this. And then if we don't hear from anybody in that letter, then we go on to a second letter. And then after the second letter, it comes to the board for proposed fines. Then it goes to the Covenants Committee, who looks at a picture of it and says, okay, we agree, this is a violation, we're going to impose the fine. They get a letter after that. Then you have 50 more days to where we send an S9 letter that says, this is going to convert to an assessment, but you have 10 days to appeal. So they have even that point to come.
And I'm aware of the process, and I get it, but did anyone pick up the phone and try to call these people?
I don't know if phone calls were made, but there's multiple communications over months.
For a mailbox or an unapproved camera to me.
Yeah, we can't be letting one go and letting awnings stay.
All right, so.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
Appreciate it.
Any further discussion then? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Tab number 26, motion to approve one legal recommendation for $876.71.
It's to waive those late fees and interest of $870.
I move for the attorney recommendation of waiving of late fees and interest in the amount of $876.71.
A second.
Okay. Discussion? All in favor?
The only thing, Jack, is that we want to make sure that management recommendation is that you waive it after they pay their assessments and legal fees.
I amend my motion to waive this after they pay their assessments and legal fees.
I second.
Okay. There you go. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you, Steve.
Motion carries. Tab 27, motion to approve 7 homeowner requests for $281.83.
We just split these out.
Actually,
no.
The number of waivers in the last 5 years are all 0 up through 7, and that's it.
All right. Well, I have some other questions regarding, but let's get a motion going first.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Here's my question. Number 7. There's $34.58 of interest there. How did it get so high? I mean, the fine is only $50.
Yeah, what accounts that? I want to put some money in it.
Yeah, I mean, let me invest in this one.
Well, we don't know how long the first late notice happened, and then it kept accruing over time. They got a second late notice.
CROA had an incorrect billing address.
That's a lot of
that might have been our deal.
Same thing with numbers 1 and 2. That just seems like an excessive amount of interest for.
It does, because they charge 18%.
I'm sorry, what's it? What's that?
We only charge the late fee after they're assessed. So if they're late in the first quarter of 2017 or 16, then they get interest every single month, and they may not be late again, but then it comes to their attention that they're late, and they say, whoa, 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 we want you to waive our late fees and interest so that we come down to a zero balance.
Okay.
What the board has been following this year very well is the waiver of 2 fees in a 5-year period. And Rachel, you know how we do it with service areas also. So I think we have a motion already. And a second.
Okay. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Oh, good. We've reached all the tabs then.
All 30 somewhere. Sleeping bag isn't needed.
Yeah, so I do have one thing for goal 6, surprise Leonard, which is explore green and technology initiatives. So I'm about to leave the board, not the town, sorry Paul. But I think one of the things that we should look at, because candidly I don't think it costs us much of anything, but I would like for us just to get some quotations for installation of photovoltaic, like for instance on this 851 building, photovoltaic solar panels for electricity for offset, just so that we can at least understand what a cost for something like that would be. Yeah, so not necessarily approving it to move forward, but I just wanted, before, Leonard or I reached out and raised our hand on that, just make sure that everyone was okay with us just doing that to get a number.
Okay. And also, which will probably both be off the board before anything gets built up. Pacific Corridor, as we build new, it's much, much less expensive to put those green initiatives into a new building, and we just need to look ahead to that.
Right.
And just a comment on number 1, to build mutually beneficial strategic partnerships with the county, civic, community, schools, and districts. Well, you weren't there, but David and I met with Peggy Chowdhury in October and had a very nice lunch, a long meeting, and talked about several things.
Actually, I had lunch with her in November, too.
Well,
you get a lot of free lunches.
She won't even return my email.
Actually, the CDD paid for lunch.
Oh, well, there you go. We paid for our own lunch, but we're also meeting with her again in January and writing an article together. I guess I'm writing or he's writing or something. So anyway, if you guys have any questions or concerns or anything we need to address with Commissioner Chowdhury, please let us know. It went very well. I think she's very forward-thinking, and we're hoping to have some positive things and connections with the community. And also just wanted to thank Chick-fil-A for all their help with our meet and greets and for the little coupons. And Eric, this is yours. You got one? Sorry.
Cool. Let me tag on to what you said on goal number 1, because our meeting with Ms. Chowdhury and also with Beth Ann Knight was to establish a quarterly meeting with them as well. Okay.
Glad I got somebody in the commission that's listening. Just saying.
All right. Anybody else want to comment on any other ones?
I was just going to say real quick about goal number 3. Jack and I have done a lot of work on the athletic field and coming forward, and now that we've purchased the property, we're going to have to do a longer term look at what we actually want to build on that property. Possibly in January, I had talked about getting together a group from the community of old people and young people and this and that, and getting involved in a room to run through. It's just an idea gathering day of what are the possibilities. And
Wait a minute. You left out the middle-aged people. Where are us?
You're not middle-aged.
Oh.
You're the old people.
So within that, I actually would like to see us maybe at the next meeting figure out a date in January to start this before our January meeting. In other words, get this focus group or whatever we want to call it, a committee of a certain number of people in. I've talked with Paul from the foundation as far as coming in because they're dealing with people old, which I consider myself an old person. So don't anyone get offended out there.
That's okay. So do we.
Thank you. But within that, I just think that getting something together in January to start planning this, because the build time, it wouldn't even be ready with enough money probably for a year and a half after that to break ground.
Well, I don't know.
But we are moving forward.
They're talking about October having money available for us, so we could be simultaneously building this.
But again, Jack, I think once we discuss...
Oh, I know where you're going to go.
Once we discuss the partnership with the county for this, I think it's going to sour the rest of the board members. It sounds real good to get 2-point-something million, but once you start having a building and fields that may be used every night of the week, people coming in and out of the community, in and out, that it may be starting to look on a different way, where right now, if Lee's not here, I was going to pick on him. If
he's not here, so you can pick on him.
If Celebration Youth Soccer screws up and does something really bad to one of our fields, we just tell them, hey, you can't do that anymore. We cut them out of the program. Once you get married to the county, you can't do that. And that's the end of that. We'll discuss that in a later date.
I understand that, but I'm going to go back to what Paul said re Poinciana, where the county gave them a lot of autonomy to do things. So let's investigate on that side as well. Okay. So
two comments. One on goal 2 that Debbie and I are working on. I'm thankful to JR for providing running the survey that closed right before Thanksgiving. So the analysis is about 10 minutes in. Thank you, JR. Debbie and I will be working on that.
For next meeting.
But looking ahead to the next one, there may be a couple of things that we can be talking about. This one had to do with hurricanes, as well as the content for the Celebration News, some of the ongoing items, the monthly publication. So we may want to look at the idea of a community center. We may want to look at some of the things we were talking about downtown tonight. So ideas are welcome for what that might look like. And then to comment on Paul's and my goal number 5, which is develop and refine community management and organizational efficiencies. Just a comment. We've been through a lot over the last many months, not you and I, but, well, you and I too, but all of us going through the process with the management contract. I'm glad we've closed that tonight. We've covered a lot in the last month. It's overwhelming, but I think it's an aim. I guess the reflection I'd offer is this is an aim towards greater organizational efficiencies, community management, and for me, a good partnership as we move forward. We have a good partnership, and I think my aim, and Paul can affirm or not, is that let's build on it and make it stronger, stronger, stronger. You know, we approved lifelong tonight. I think that's a great asset. I think a lot of good things happened tonight, and I just wanted to reflect and say I'm more excited now than the last 2 months.
There you go. I can't imagine.
I'll erase that off the tape.
All right.
No, but I am more excited.
Look, now we're touchy-feely.
No, I'm not touchy-feely, but no, I just think it's important to start.
I move to adjourn.
Before that's seconded, I do have one more thing.
Oh, hang on.
Yes?
I want to remind the board and our massive crowds that are coming to the board meetings lately that we will see everybody on December 18th next month for the board meeting. It's on a Monday, not on a Wednesday. And there is no workshop next month unless it's determined by the board that we need one. But it'd be nice to have a little break for the holidays, and December 18th will be our next meeting.
Can you do put that in the Friday Flash several times ahead?
Yes.
Thank you.
Monday.
Thank you. We're adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.